Welcome to episode 24 of the podcast. I'm going to give us a moment to make sure we are indeed live on Facebook. I'm so proud of myself going live on Facebook, Instagram, and recording at the same time. All right. So today's topic is going to be called How to Feel Like You're Good Enough. And this is a super relevant topic because I am a life coach for perfectionists. And I was just coaching a client on this today. I'm going to talk about that, but I want to talk a little bit about my story because I wrote a book. I don't have it here with me, but I wrote a book. Hi, Deb. Good to see you. I wrote a book and I self-published it on Amazon back in 2021. And I was just sharing this with my client today. And he was talking about like feeling imposter syndrome and like not feeling good enough and having self-doubts. And I said, yeah, you're doing it right. Like if you have a business and you're out in the world, you're offering services, the services that you have for yourself, you will just feel like you're not good enough. You will just feel like nothing you put out into the world is good enough. And this comes from my experience of me becoming an author and writing my book. And I wrote the book. If you want to find it, it's on Amazon. It's called It's Happy Now, the Happiness Handbook for High Achievers. And I wrote it because back in the day, back in like 2011, I was dating this guy that was like super good looking, was successful. And like from the outside looking in, it looked like I had everything that you could want. I was in California, worked a fairly decent paying job, was a college graduate. I was relatively fit. Like I was a size whatever 4 and I was a 26% body or 16% body fat. And I remember like from the outside looking in, everything looked great. However, I was dating a narcissist. He never said, I love you. I hated my body. I thought I was fat all the time. I was so depressed. I was living in California a mile from the beach and I was depressed. And so I remember like that was the first time that I figured out that I learned about self-development, about thinking. And I remember some of the first books that I listened to. I guess I was listening to CDs at that time. Was Joyce Meyer. She had a book called Battlefield of the Mind, and I listened to it all the time. Like driving in the car, I listened to positive music. Like I really had to fight really, really hard because I had such a negative brain and I didn't like anything about anything. And I remember I found another book called The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. And I remember like hiding the book because I didn't want anybody to know that I was working on myself. Like I didn't want the guy that I was dating to know that like I was trying to work on myself or fix myself. Like I was embarrassed by reading these books. So I remember back then, 2011, I was taking a shower and I was like mad about something and not happy about something and trying to reach my goals. And I remember like something downloaded into my brain at that time. And the thought was, it's not happy when, it's happy now. So it's not happy when you lose weight, when you get the better job, when you pay off the debt, when this person finally says, I love you. It's happy now. And I started to learn how to feel grateful. And I remember I would go to the beach and I would take my journal and I would just like take my journal and my Bible and I would just sit there and cry. And I would just like be so sad, so depressed, like beat myself up so much. I'm sitting at the ocean and I would just cry and fast and pray and journal. And I kid you not, like, I think this is the reality for most humans. And so this is what led me to become a life coach is like, life is not just easy. You don't just like think positively. Like you don't just feel good enough. You don't just feel happy. Like it takes an actual effort because our brain just wants to be negative. So when you think about where you're at on your journey. Like for me, I became a health and fitness coach first, but I became that because of my own body dysmorphia issues. And I really wanted to help women love themselves, whatever was going on in their body. And so I helped them through that mindset of loving themselves, no matter what their body looked like. And now I'm still on that journey in helping perfectionists, high achievers feel good enough, even though you don't have the success yet, even though you don't have money yet, even though you're not where you want to be in your career or business yet. That is what I do as my job, as my career now. But this is what I reframed for my client today, because if you are wanting to build a business and you're wanting to get to 6 figures, I think a lot of us who know about manifesting, right, and positive self-belief and positive self-talk and affirmations, I think most of us think when we get there, it will be better than here. When I get to 6 figures, it will be better. When I have my own business, then I will be happy and I get to leave this job. And that never is the case because life is always 50-50. When I do the thing, I will finally feel like I'm good enough. And back to my self publishing book story, that was the most painful thing. Well, I would say that's the second most painful thing. So the book was the first most painful thing. Then crossing the six-figure mark brought a whole bunch of other pain with it. And I say this not to scare you, to say like, oh, you shouldn't go after your goals and dreams. I say this to say that we don't want to put our goals and dreams on a pedestal. We don't want to make that the thing that's like, oh, once I do that, once I achieve that, I will feel good enough. You literally have to feel good enough right now in order to feel good enough later. And so with my book, when I was writing it, I remember just like going through stuff in my life. Like, so we're always going through something, like no matter what, either winning or learning. And most of the time we're learning. And I was going through stuff as I was writing that book. It was so painful for me to like get the stories out, and my brain was, and I hired a coach for it. I got it done in 3 months. And it was so painful because I thought I was so bad at writing, and like everything I was writing was trash. And like truthfully, some of it was, and some of it I needed to throw out because it wasn't good. And I threw it out and it got better. But I had to just pick a date to publish my book. And I had to just decide that the book was done. Now I sent it off to editors, like good enough is good enough. But I had to just decide it was done and it was good enough. And I put it out there. Now, most people would think, now this could be different for everybody. Like maybe some people, when they publish their book, they feel amazing and they're so proud of themselves. To me, it was literally like birthing a baby. It was so painful. Like the whole entire thing was painful. When I published it, it was painful. Having a book, it's not as painful now because I don't think about it, but I still don't think the book is good. I'm just like, yeah, read it if you want, right? And so many people have told me like, oh, it's so good. I loved your story. And I was like, really? What? And so I say this to say, you have to be willing to feel like, do you have that voice in your head that says, this is dumb, you're stupid, why are you doing this? This book is dumb, your post is dumb, nobody cares about your business, why are you saying this? You literally just have to let that voice talk and do it anyway. And I think the biggest misconception about like feeling good enough, like finally getting over imposter syndrome, like finally feeling proud, and I love myself so deeply, I think it is a state of being that we can be in more often than not. And also, there are just times where your brain is going to tell you you're stupid and dumb and worthless. Like, it's fine. I had a mentor of mine say that, like, my biggest, she said something to the effect of, like, my biggest strength is that I think I'm amazing. And then, like, half of the time, I think I'm trash. And it's just like, yeah. That is the human experience. And so many times we are seeking to get out of that experience instead of just realizing that that is the human experience and to actually just allow it to be so. And I find that a lot of times my clients who are perfectionists and high achievers, they'll use this phrase like, as long as I'm doing my best. And I said, no, do your least best. Like, don't worry about doing your best. Because what I find is that actually gets you stuck and paralyzed. I took way longer than I really should have for my book, meaning that thought came to me in 2011. And I knew that I wanted to write a book, but the book didn't get developed until 2021. And I think I started writing it, like I got the idea to be like, okay, let me actually start writing it in 2020. So it still took me, right, like a decade to get the book out of me. And so I actually am a proponent, and this is strictly, so my perfectionists don't like to hear this. They're like, no, we need to be excellent. We need to be excellent. I'm like, yes, of course. But notice that the thought is the thing that makes you feel a certain way. And if you feel pressure and you get stuck by thinking I need to be excellent, then that is not a valuable and useful thought to think. So instead, I like to think the thought good enough is good enough. My 50% is still valuable. Like my trash book, people like it. They love it. They think it's great. To me, my brain is still like, yeah, that's trash. And the reason why is because I know what it takes to be excellent in book writing. When I was writing my book, I was going through this workshop, the Hay House Writers Workshop, and they were saying like, this is how traditional, right, like publishers publish. This is what you do. You have to go through 9 rounds of editing. And I was already like, welp, I'm going through 1 round of editing and it's got to just be good enough. So what I didn't do is compare myself to a traditional publisher that has, right, like dozens of staff, that has experts that go through and edit. That's not my reality. It was a DIY situation. And so how many times are you comparing yourself, especially in business? Are you comparing yourself to the millionaire next door who's been in business for 15 years, who has systems, who has a staff, who has an ad budget? Whenever I'm working with clients who are new to business, right? In your first 5 years, you got to just decide good enough is good enough. I'm going to make this. I'm going to post it. I'm going to send an email. I'm going to post it. I'm going to make offers. I'm just going to allow myself to be good enough. And that means you've got to be willing to feel cringe. You got to be willing to feel embarrassed, vulnerable, awkward. You've got to even be willing to feel shame. And so when I say the second time my business was after I hit 6 figures. Then I went and like changed my business model. I started launching different products and services, and it didn't necessarily go as I thought. And my mentor told me, she's like, it's going to be harder than you think. And I was like, no. Like I really was thinking everything was going to be great. It wasn't great. Like it wasn't great. I had a lot of pain. Like I had a panic attack. I had a lot of pain. I had burnout. I had depression. Like I'm kind of making light of it now. And the reason I'm making light of it is not to joke or diminish, right? But that kind of is what we're on. Like if you are in a business, you got to learn how to make light of it. It's just like people who are in the helping professions, right? They see a lot of crazy shit. They start to have dark humor. They start to be like, yep, this is just part of the process. And I just decided to become more resilient and more able to feel negative emotion. So when we think about, I want to feel good enough finally, the way you do that is by feeling good enough now, by feeling deep self-compassion, by feeling deep self-love, which says, I know you're imperfect. I know that you are just a flawed human being who's also simultaneously a miracle from God. And I'm going to just love all parts of myself, even the weaknesses, even like the parts that aren't the best, even the parts that are triggering to myself and others. I'm just going to decide that I am good enough. And I'll tell you, there's certain things in my life I've decided to work on, right? Like, let me work on this. Let me become better at this. Let me become more self-aware of these certain things. Then there's certain things where I've just decided for this time being, this is just part of my personality. Like I am just awkward and weird, and I say weird things sometimes. I just am cringe sometimes. And I'm also an eloquent speaker, and it's phenomenal and amazing. But I also find that when I'm in professional settings, like I just say things that are a little bit unhinged. And so sometimes I get self-conscious because I'm like, I should not go to any more professional settings. I should just be feral in the woods. And also I learned that whenever I just lean into that, and I really like this, these are the people I respect, or that they are just themselves. They just speak like themselves. They just say what they say, and they just let the chips fall where they may. They just are like, well, this is just who I am. And so there is a certain level of this is just who I am that allows us to be content, to feel proud, to feel good enough. And then you also get to decide, these are the parts of myself that I want to work on, that I want to heal, that I really want to look at and understand, why am I triggered by this? Why do I act this way? And also you get to just say, I'm good enough right now. What I see so often is people trying to be perfect, trying to tell themselves they're perfect or get themselves in a way that they're perfect. And it's holding them back from having the life and the business that they want, having the relationships that they want. When I learned how to actually just be authentic in relationships, not only was it freeing for me, the people that I'm in a relationship with, they just know what they're getting. I'm like not trying to pretend. I'm like, you get what you get. Like, this is what you get. I never was lying about this. Like, this is who I am. You get what you get. And it's, again, not to say that there aren't things we want to work on, but notice when it's coming from shame, like there's something wrong with me. Notice when it stops you from making offers in your business. And the thing that I was coaching my client on today, he just sold out his very first solo event that he did by himself, sold it out. And I said, let's really look at how we did this. And how he did it was deciding, I am willing to feel embarrassed. I'm willing that if people buy the tickets and they don't like it, they ask for a refund. Like, I'm willing to experience that. And so when you are willing to show up in your mission, in your purpose, deciding what your mission and purpose is, first and foremost, some people go their whole lives asking the question, just decide today, what is my mission? What is my purpose? Walk in that purpose, walk in those values, and decide that I'm going to tell myself I'm good enough today. I'm going to love myself today in my imperfection. And when you do that every day, you just become a person who loves themselves. And then from that place, you start to make choices that will benefit your life, that will add value to yourself and to others. So we want to start with just accepting who we are. Then we want to decide who we want to be. But this whole good enough story, I don't think it's a destination. Now, my tagline is I help high achievers feel good enough. I help perfectionists feel good enough. But I teach them how to do it on command. It's not a final destination. It's not a final state. Like once you're there, you're there. It's the same thing as like being able to run 3 miles. You got to maintain it. You got to maintain the habit of feeling good enough on purpose. So what I coach my client on for his next offer is to feel proud on purpose before you even get the result, before you even sell out the next thing. Feel proud on purpose. And then to circle back about me making 6 figures and then doing new things in my business, it was so painful. Again, I'm laughing and I'm crying now because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm on the other side of it. Finally, there was a good solid 15 to 18 months where I was like in the river of misery, like in the drama, in the emotions. And now I'm on the other side of it. I'm through it. I've become the person who decides, hey, I can make 6 figures. I can pivot. I can try new things in my business. I can learn every time. I can hold space for a panic attack. I can hold space for deep shame and guilt and judgment. I can hold space for failure. Let's go. And as you do that, that's how you create resilience. So if you're sitting here looking at a goal and you're not feeling good enough, I want you to just ask your question, well, what would change if I felt good enough? Just redirect your brain. And then ask yourself, what am I afraid of feeling? Oh, embarrassed, rejected. Okay. But if you're just willing to feel embarrassed and rejected, you can have anything that you want. I was willing to go through the pain of writing a book, feeling like an imposter in order to help others, but really to help myself because I was thinking about myself 11 years ago. And I was like, wow, this book would really help her. There's got to be somebody out there that it would help. So when you think about what you want, you get to decide. And don't let this story of not feeling good enough stop you. You just move forward, not feeling good enough. That's the secret, y'all. That is the secret. You're just not going to feel good enough. It's the human condition. It's the part of the brain. It's a part of the limbic system that says you might not be able to jump across that river. You might die. Your limbic system, your brain, your reptilian brain is just doing the same thing except on your goals. So you got to think of the bigger purpose of your why, and you got to get tapped in. And the only way that I know to do this, because it's the only way that I did it, is to have a coach in your corner. The coach is the one that helps you to build your belief. You meet consistently and the coach calls you forward into the version of you that you're becoming. And the coach says, hey, you're good enough right now. You're smart enough right now. You just got to be willing to do it. And as you develop this quality over time, you become the person who just does hard things, who just knows how to feel things, who is capable, who is persistent, who is resilient, and who loves themselves deeply no matter what. So I want to end this episode with a couple ways to work together. I have a program that is online. It's called Resilient AF. We work together for every single month. We work together. We're on 5 months now. So we're going to meet together for the next 5 months. Our next class, we meet virtually, is, if you're watching this in real time, our next class, our breathwork class will be on September 10th. And then we have an intuitive reading on September 17th. So it is not too late to join us in this program called Resilient AF. The purpose of this is to use breathwork so that you can tap into emotional states, higher consciousness, and be able to feel any emotion. And then we tap into some journaling, into intuitive readings to realize that you're okay, you're safe. You have expanded capacity. You have angels and guides on your side. And you also have a higher knowing for yourself. So if you'd like to join us in Resilient AF, send me a message and I'll get you the link for that. We will be joining on September 10th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then the next way to work with me is one-on-one coaching. So if you are a person who has a goal and you know, hey, I'm smart, I'm capable, I'm a high achiever, like I know I can do this, but I'm just not doing it, it would be a good time to have a conversation about that. I can help you get unstuck and I offer a free 1-hour consultation. So you can reach out to me to book that free consultation. We'll talk about what your goals are. I'll give you a brief assessment and then we'll talk about what it looks like to work together. And then thirdly, if you're watching this in real time in 2025, I have a retreat, a 1-day retreat coming up on September 20th. And that is from 11 to 4:30 p.m. It is local here in Fayetteville, North Carolina at Blissful Alchemist. It's called Conscious Creators Retreat. And this retreat is all about making sure that you're still going in the direction you want to be going in. So I really like taking an assessment of where you are, right? Take a look at what's gone on this year thus far. Start to think about next year, where you want to be next year. And we start the day with sound in Salt Room and sharing. So we start the day with actually tapping in, connecting, resetting our nervous system. Then we move into breath work for the midday, where we're going to really break through any blocks. And we're also going to break through anything that we've experienced emotionally this year. Breathwork is the thing that got me to my six figures and that helped me heal from all of the drama that came up in having a six-figure business. So we'll do breath work, and then we'll spend a lavish amount of time journaling on your vision, journaling on your values, really tapping into higher consciousness, deciding where you want to be. Are you consciously creating your life, or are you just going in the same direction, kind of putting out fires day to day? And then we'll definitely going to have a nice big lunch after breath work. And then we will end the day with some movement, some dancing to get us back up into our energy, walking into our new life. The investment for that is only $125 if you grab that ticket before September 1st. And if you're seeing this later, go ahead and click the link below to join us. But that's what I got for you right now. Remember, you're good enough right now. You're going to be okay. And if you want more help with this, this is what I do. Reach out to me to book a consult for one-on-one coaching. I'll see you at the retreat. And then if you're a one-on-one client, you also get access to the Resilient AF program. It's only $47 a month if you just want to join that separately. So click all the links below and join me. I'll see you next week.